Hello and welcome to 2D Animation and Interactivity. I am Dave, I'm your instructor. Should be the first video you're watching. This is going to be called the Flash Basics video. Week 2 here, we'll call it week 2 and sort of consider introductions and getting Flash this past week, week 1. Week 2 is going to involve 3 videos. This is the first one. And generally speaking, the videos, except for this Flash Basics video here at the beginning, are going to have handouts that sort of are step-by-steps. It's going to be up to you whether you use both. I would consider and strongly suggest that you use both the videos and the handouts. As the semester moves on, you'll note that occasionally I might just have a handout, a step-by-step, in lieu of a video. Sometimes I might just have a video. Sort of be on the lookout for that in relation to each week. What we're going to do in this video here today is basically go over Flash, sort of go over how it works. This Flash Basics video isn't necessarily an exercise that you're going to do, but rather sort of a tour of the program that's going to come in handy in relation to the videos that we have to come. The videos you have to come are making a shape tween and making a motion tween. These are going to be 2 files that you hand in this week and are going to serve as kind of the basis from which a lot of the other exercises and projects grow from. Some real basics here. But they're quite important. So keep that in mind as you sort of move forward. One other thing to note, I'm using a program called Screen Cast-O-Matic. It captures my voice and the video. If you ever have any problems with this, you're going to be watching them over YouTube, please let me know. Occasionally they don't load correctly and I need to sort of go in and give some different URLs. But you should be able to see these pretty easily and pretty crisply right there in D2L. So let's see here. This Flash Basics video is going to just sort of go over how Flash works and sort of go over some of the basics that are going to introduce places that I'm going to refer to, tools I'm going to refer to throughout the semester. It's going to be very important you sort of start to understand these terms and tools because I'll start referring to them with the understanding that you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the stage or the timeline or a particular tool. Let's head into it. I've opened Flash. This is a window you're likely going to see when you open Flash. Generally speaking, we're going to be opening up ActionScript 3.0. ActionScript 3.0 is a Flash file type. It's one of the more recent file types. Flash has its own programming language, which we're going to get into as we move through the semester. ActionScript 3.0 is one of the newer ones, and we're going to sort of open this up. When you open a Flash ActionScript 3.0 file, you will note that you get sort of this generic file size. If later in the semester I talk about sort of changing that, that stage size, we'll do that as well. There are a couple things to think about when you work with Flash. One, over here on the top right, you'll see a drop-down menu that it allows for different workspaces. I'm generally speaking going to be working in the classic workspace, and you'll see it sort of change. You might see Animator, these sorts of things. Just out of preference, meaning that I've worked in this workspace for quite a while, I'm going to be working in this classic workspace. All these other workspaces allow for seeing the windows that you see in the tabs that I see, but they might be in a different spot. So if you're new to Flash and you want to sort of make sure you're following along, let's work in that classic workspace. There's about 4 or 5 things I'm going to just point out right off the bat, and let's start from left to right. First, over here you have your tools or your toolbox. Okay, I'm not going to go through a ton of these tools right now. I'm going to be referring to them in the exercises to come, but this is where all the tools live. Okay, one important one to point out is this selection tool. It's going to be the black arrow, and this is going to allow for moving things around on the stage. Right here up at the top, you have timeline and output. We're not going to work with output a ton, but our timeline we're going to work with quite a bit. These frames here represent sort of time, and this red, I don't know what else to call it other than the playhead, because that's what it is. This red bar is the playhead. It shows you movement across time. Down here we have the scene or the stage. This is where everything happens. This can change size, it can change colors, etc. Over here on the right hand side we have what's called the library. You have the properties tab and the library tab. The library is a good place to sort of introduce how Flash works as an animation tool. Generally speaking, we have symbols, what's called symbols, and we're going to see symbols as we move into those next exercises. We have symbols that are in the library. Inside the library we have very, very simple things, and we're going to have sort of a green ball and a red ball for your first exercises, and you bring them from the library and you put them onto the stage and animate them. When you bring them onto the stage, it's called an instance, meaning that the original, or the one that you made, sort of still lives in that library. We're just sort of bringing out a version of it to animate it. Okay. With that said, I want to sort of talk about, talking about symbols, etc., and animation, which this course is. I want to sort of talk about a brief sort of history of Flash as it relates to animation and also web development. Flash is a vector-based program. A vector-based program means that it is working on basically the computer doing a series of math equations, meaning we draw a point and we draw another point and we curve the line between those 2 points and we make the point green. The computer is sort of figuring that out on the go. It's different from what's called a raster or pixel-based program, something like Photoshop, where you see actual pixels. Those require much more space, much more time to change because there's quite a bit of information there. Flash, with its vectors, is quicker, more sort of nimble in relation to graphics. The graphics, generally speaking, are sort of flatter or more 2D, hence the name of the class, 2D animation, but they move quite quickly and they're easy to sort of animate. Now, Flash is an animation program. It's also historically been a web development program, meaning you can make websites or portions of websites or buttons for websites. That's becoming less prominent than it was, say, 10 years ago, but it still is a very powerful animation tool. I, like many artists, sort of think of things as tools, and despite the fact that Flash has sort of fallen out of favor in terms of web development, which was perfectly understandable and right for the time, it is still a very sort of powerful animation tool for learning simple animation. Okay, so what we're going to do in these next videos, and I'm going to just sort of stop this here in a minute and introduce these next videos, is again lay the basis for creating some of the animations that we're going to do coming up here in the semester. Okay, we're going to be working with all of this in the coming 2 exercises that are quite simple, and then by the end of the semester you'll think, wow, those first couple exercises were very, very simple, but they're going to get us used to everything that sort of is happening here inside Flash. So this will probably be the only video where not a ton happening, just sort of introducing this interface and sort of introducing where we're going to be heading in the coming videos. So that's it for this Flash Basics. You should be watching them kind of in the order that I have them laid out on the week 2 sheet. Flash Basics, the motion tween, and the shape tween.